Yo, what is going on, guys? It is me, Jolts, and welcome back to another video on the channel, guys. In this video, I'm reacting to my subscribers' tier list for COD Zombies maps. There's this new trend going around. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called tier lists. And what you do with tier lists is you take everything of something in specific, for example, COD Zombies maps, and you put them in their respective tiers. So if you think that Origins goes in S tier at the top, you'd put it in S tier, and if you think like a reasonable human being, you'll put Tag or Tote in an F tier. But anyways, I'm gonna be reacting to my subscribers tier list. We have 4 tier lists that I'm gonna react to. If you guys want to be in a future episode, make sure you join my Discord. The link is down below in the description. And eventually I will put in the messages that I'm doing this, so go ahead and click this link, fill out this tier list, and send it back to me. And just like that, you can be in a video. Just a disclaimer, this video is mainly just for fun, so don't take it too seriously and don't get upset by it. But if you guys do get upset by this video and you guys want to go talk shit on my tier list, I'll put a card up on the screen right now. Make sure you go watch that video once you're done watching this video. So I hope you guys do enjoy. If you do, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and with that being said, let's jump straight into this video. Okay, so the first tier list we have is from Bubzero. Alright, so let's start at the bottom and work our way up top. So I see one thing I know everyone for the most part is gonna disagree with. We have Origins as the 4th worst map of all time. I do not agree with this. I'm sure almost nobody else agrees with this. Origins belongs all the way, I can't do that. Belongs all the way up in here, Bubsy. You know better. Die Rise belongs in here. Buried does not belong in here. He doesn't like Buried because it's too repetitive, and I agree with him, but it's not bad. And finally, Voyage of Despair isn't bad either. It deserves to go in at least C tier. Voyage is a really underrated map. D tier is fine. I agree with both of those picks. C tier, we have Knocked. I agree. Transit, that's a little high. GK, Rev, D Machine, and Firebase Z. Those are all good. Those are all okay maps. I think that these two should be higher and this should be lower, but nonetheless, it's a pretty decent tier. So moving on to the B tier, we have Verrückt. Okay. Darius, Shangri-La, Moon, Nuketown Zombies. Okay, wow. Nuketown Zombies in B tier. I don't think I've ever heard someone say that they like Nuketown Zombies to the point where they'd put it in B tier. That's crazy. Mob of the Dead, Blood of the Dead, Classified, Nine, and Tagged or Toten. What is this? Why is this high? Why is this in B tier? Why? This should be down here. It should be below all of these maps. This map sucks. It should not be in B tier, Bubsy. Come on. You know better. Nuketown Zombies is a very bare bones map, and I know you like bare bones maps, but B tier? Come on now. I'm surprised he has Mob of the Dead and Blood of the Dead in the same tier right next to each other. That's kind of surprising, to be honest. For A tier, we have Ascension, Horizon Drag, Dead of the Night, Ancient Evil, and Alpha Omega. Finally, someone sees what I see in Alpha Omega. Alpha Omega is a very underrated map. The map is fun. It has fun wonder weapons. It has a fun-ish pack-a-punch setup. It has a fun Easter egg to do. The boss fight in Alpha Omega is very easy, but it's really difficult compared to the boss fights we've been getting in Cold War so far. And finally, for the spectacular tier, we have Shadows of Evil, 5, Call of the Dead, and Zetsubou no Shima. Zetsubou is the 4th best map of all time. Wow, I only know one other person that said that, and that is Fat Matt. This is a very unpopular opinion. Like, really. Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead. I think it's a really good map. Do I think it belongs in spectacular tier? No. I think it should go in A tier. 5. 5 has its moments, but it's not spectacular tier. I'm sorry. 5 belongs in either B or C tier. Somewhere in between the bottom of B and the top of C. 5 has good things about the map, like the Pentagon Thief, for example. But they also have bad things, like the random teleporters and the perk placements. I don't think 5 belongs anywhere near the spectacular tier he has. And finally, Shadows of Evil. Hell yes, at the top, the best map of all time will forever be the best map of all time. At least he has that right. So if I had to rate your tier list on a scale from 1 to 10, I would give it a 6. You have a couple very good opinions about zombies, but you have a lot of bad ones, Bubsy. Shadows of Evil belongs in S tier, you got that right. DE belongs in S tier, but I'll give you A tier. It's a really good map, regardless. These two belong in this tier. Maybe Ancient Evil belongs to Spectacular. But then you have some very bad opinions, like Origins being the 4th worst map of all time, or Buried being the 2nd worst map of all time, or Transit being better than Gorod Krovi and Revelations, or this. This right here immediately takes like 2 points off your rating. So overall, It's not a horrible tier list, but it's not a great tier list either. So like I said, 6 out of 10, and with that being said, let's jump straight in to the next tier list. Alright, so the next tier list we have is from Rome's. So let's do the same thing as the first one and start from the bottom and work our way up to the top. So in F tier, we have Die Rise, okay. Classified, okay. Voyage of Despair, no. And Firebase Z, okay. I agree with this for the most part. I think Voyage should be a tier or 2 higher at the very least. Like I said, I think it's a very underrated gem. But the other 3 maps in this tier definitely belong in F tier. For D tier, we have Nocturne Totem, Call of the Dead, Transit, and D Machina. Once again, I agree with all of this list except for one map. I think that Transit should go higher. No, I'm kidding. I think Call of the Dead should be in like A tier. For C tier, we have Shinonuma, Shangri-La, Moon, Nuketown Zombies, Revelations, Alpha Omega, and 9. So Rome's, you mean to tell me that you think that Shinonuma is a better map than Moon, or Revelations, or Alpha Omega, or even 9? I'm sorry, that I disagree with that. Shinonuma has no right being in C tier. Moon, Revelations, and Alpha Omega, potentially even 9, belong at least a tier or 2 higher. For B tier, we have Verrückt, Kino der Toten, Ascension, Mob of the Dead, Zetsubo no Shima, Blood of the Dead, and Tag der Toten. What is up with you guys? Putting this catastrophe, this disgusting thing in the B tier. You guys already know how I feel. This map belongs in the fucking garbage can. It belongs below F tier. It belongs in its own tier where it can just rot for eternity. Kino is way too high. Ascension, I'll give you that. Mob of the Dead and Zetsubo should be higher. And obviously Tag should be at the very bottom of every list ever made by anybody. But other than that, the B tier is pretty good. For A tier, we have Darius, 5, Shadows of Evil, Garad Krovi, and Dead of the Night. Okay, overall, that's a good tier. And for S tier, we have Buried, Origins, Horizon Jack, and Ancient Evil. Buried as the best map of all time. Wow. Tell me, Rome's, why do you think Buried's the best map of all time? Like, honestly, I want to know, because if you ask me, the Easter egg sucks. High rounds aren't fun to do because you have to rely on all the traps and everything. You can't actually kill anything by yourself. And we have Leroy, which some people might see as a good thing, but Leroy is one of the most annoying things in zombies history. Say you're outside the saloon and you're shooting zombies, just killing zombies, and Leroy gets hit by a bullet that you didn't mean to shoot at him, then he just runs to his cage and cries like a bitch, and you have to go find the key again and put down whatever part you already had in your inventory. Leroy's annoying. Buried has a couple good things about it though, like Vulture Aid, like the Time Bomb, like the couple of map exclusive weapons. Other than Buried, I think that this S tier is really good. So overall, I'd give your tier list a 7 out of 10. It has some really good things about it, but once again, I'm taking 2 points off just because this catastrophe is not at the bottom of the list. I think Kino's way too high. I think Mob of the Dead should be higher. I think Moon should be higher. I think Shinonuma should be lower. And I think Revelations, Alpha Omega, and Voyage of Despair all belong a little bit higher. But other than that, you have a pretty solid tier list, my friend. Origins, DE, and Ancient Evil in the S tier. Once again, I don't agree with Buried. I think it should be lower. But other than that, this tier is perfect. This tier is perfect. This tier is almost perfect besides 3 maps. This tier list is pretty good. Your C tier is okay. I think you should fix a couple things about it, but the D tier is good and the F tier is good outside of Voyage of Despair. So like I said, a 7 out of 10 tier list for you. So with that being said, let's jump straight into the next tier list. Okay, so the next tier list we have is from Puffpin, and just straight off the bat, this right here is really annoying me. The fact that you have A highlighted when you took a screen cap of it, but I'll try to ignore it. Alright, so let's start at the bottom, which is the haven't played enough tier. We have Shangri-La, Blood of the Dead, Tag der Toten, there we go, Firebase Z, Classified, Voyage, Dead of the Night, Ancient Evil, Alpha Omega, and 9. I'm not going to critique this tier because, like you said, you haven't played any of these maps enough to actually rank them, but the fact that Tag der Toten is still at the bottom, regardless if it's haven't played enough or not, good job on you. For F tier, we have Transit and Die Rise. Okay, that's good. For D tier, we have Verrückt, Shinonuma, and Noct. Once again, a good tier. Alright, so for the C tier, we have Revelations, Kino der Toten, and Ascension. Once again, I think Kino should be lower. Maybe D tier, maybe. But I'll let it slide. For B tier, we have Nuketown Zombies, 5, and Moon. Nuketown does not belong anywhere near B tier. 5 and Moon, okay, that's fine. But like I said, Nuketown, no. For the highlighted A tier, we have Buried, Call of the Dead, and Zetsubo no Shima. As I previously said, I don't think Buried belongs anywhere above C tier, maybe B tier, but other than that, like I've been saying for pretty much this whole tier list, it's a pretty okay tier besides that. And for S tier, we have a lot of perfect maps. We got Dryzen Jack, Garad Crovey, Origins, Shadows of Evil, Mob of the Dead, Durice, and 9. You know, you can make a case for all of these maps being in S tier, besides maybe these two. 9 is extremely overrated, and Durice, I don't think it belongs in S tier. It's a great map, don't get me wrong, but it's just that, it's great. It's not perfect like Dryzen Jack, or Origins, or Shadows of Evil, or Mob of the Dead. So overall, I'd give your tier list a 7 out of 10. I agree with almost everything on this tier list. It's just that all these maps you haven't played, once you play them enough, you might want to put tag in like B tier or something, so I don't want to give you too high of a score just in case that happens. These two tiers are perfect. C tier is perfect besides Kino. Nuketown should be lower. Other than that, this tier is good. Once again, Buried should be lower. Other than that, this tier is good. And S tier, I don't think this many maps are perfect, but that's fair. Like I said, you can make a point for every single map being an S tier that's in this tier, besides maybe these two. So overall, it's a really good tier list, and with that being said, let's jump straight in to the final tier list of this video. So finally, the fourth and final tier list that we'll be looking at in this video is from Echo. Okay, so in F tier we have Transit, Die Rise, and Blood of the Dead. I'm sorry, that just made me laugh. I don't think Blood of the Dead belongs anywhere near F tier, but I know how much Echo hates Blood of the Dead, so if it wasn't an F tier, at the very bottom of F tier at that, I would have been surprised. D tier, Shangri-La, Firebase Z, Shinonuma, Verrückt, Nocturne Toten, Voyage of Despair, and Tagter Toten. There we go, finally. It belongs in F tier, but D tier is a hell of a lot better than B tier. I think Tag belongs at the bottom and Voyage belongs up a tier 2, but other than that, D tier is good. C tier, Revelations, Die Maschine, however you pronounce it, Call of the Dead, Nuketown Zombies, and Alpha Omega. C tier isn't bad either. Like I've been saying, I think Call of the Dead belongs higher, but I can't argue with this tier. So with B tier, we have 9, 5, Dead of the Night, Zetsubou no Shima, Ascension, Kino der Toten, Classified, and Moon. These 4 maps, this one, and these 3, they do not belong in B tier, they belong in C, potentially even D tier, especially Kino. But the other half of this tier is pretty good. Dead of the Night, Zetsubou, 5, and Moon. They're all really good maps. They belong in this tier, maybe even a tier higher, but I can't argue with that. For A tier, we have Shadows of Evil, Durice, Buried, Garad Crovey, and Ancient Evil. Once again, I can't argue this tier. It's a really solid tier. And finally, S tier, we have the Holy Trinity, Dryzen Jack, Origins, and Mob of the Dead. And obviously, you can't argue anything about the S tier. So overall, I'd give this an 8 out of 10. There's nothing really unpopular about this tier list. It's actually a pretty basic tier list, to be honest. There's a couple things I'd change. First off, this belongs at the bottom, like I've been saying this whole video. Kino belongs lower, so does Classified, so does Ascension, and so does 9. I think Call of the Dead and Alpha Omega should be a tier or 2 higher. I think Shadows of Evil should be an S tier, and I think that Ancient Evil should be an S tier as well. But other than that, it's a pretty good tier list, so like I said, an 8 out of 10. So overall, I'd have to say that Echo has the best tier list that we've reviewed today. Like I said, it's a pretty safe and generic tier list, but it's not a bad tier list, it's actually pretty good. S tier is perfect, A tier is pretty much perfect. B tier, like I said, there's a couple maps I would take out of this tier list, but other than that, B tier is good, C tier is good, and D tier is good for the most part, and F tier is good. So anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know down below what other community videos do you think we should do. So I hope you guys did enjoy, and with that being said, this is Jolts, signing out. Peace!